Good day, this is Mr. K's, and we're talking about 21.2c. 21.2c. We're getting a good idea of what Louis XIV was like. The Sun King, the Grand Man, the absolute monarch of France. L'état c'est moi. I am the state. Well, no palace was good enough for Louis in Paris. In fact, he hated city life, and so he had built out in the country, about 6 miles outside of Paris, a beautiful palace called Versailles. And we're going to look at that today, and then the end of Louis XVI. Louis was a man who lived and lived well. We see a huge palace, gardens, and fountains at this Palace of Versailles. A huge palace, gardens, and fountains. And if you haven't figured it out yet, it's the taxpayers that are going to pay for that. Typically the poorer people, because rich people didn't pay taxes. This showed Louis's power and wealth to all. Showed Louis's power and wealth to all. And it was the great envy of other kings and queens who visited. They went home and they built a mini Versailles. But nothing could rival the Palace of Versailles in France. Here's an example. Palace is over here, these beautiful manicured grounds. There were fountains that were turned on just as Louis went by them, and then they were turned off again because they were too expensive to run. Grand, grand palace here at Versailles. Louis also was a patron of the arts. He spent quite a bit of money in artistic endeavor. The Sun King was a ballet that was written exclusively for Louis. The Sun King, a ballet, B-A-L-L-E-T, Louis danced in. The king dancing in a ballet? Yep, he did. And the purpose of art was to glorify Louis's reign. The purpose of art was to glorify Louis's reign and his values. A playwright by the name of Molière was an author of funny plays mocking various subjects. It was Louis's favorite playwright. So many plays were authored that Louis approved of and patronized. Molière was an author of funny plays mocking various subjects. Again, the chief purpose of art was to glorify Louis's reign. The chief purpose of art was to glorify Louis's reign. Well, Louis lived and lived well, but Louis sometimes was a bonehead. He fought some wars that really cost France a lot of money. There were attempts to expand France's boundaries. There was the war with the Spanish Netherlands. Well, Spain owned the Netherlands, and Louis stuck his nose there. The war with the Spanish Netherlands. He gained a few cities, but the floodgates opened to flood the land. The floodgates opened to flood the land, and Louis's troops had to retreat. There was a war with a group of nations called the League of Augsburg, and it was not successful. Not successful. In addition to that, poor harvests aid in failure of Louis's reign. Poor harvests aid in failure of Louis's reign. Soldiers need to eat, and with these poor grain harvests, it was disastrous for his troops. Now, the War of Spanish Succession. This was in the early 1700s, lasted for about 12 years. Louis's grandson, it was a 12-year war, in which Louis's grandson, Philippe of Anjou, I'll spell that out, P-H-I-L-I-P, of the Kingdom of Anjou, A-N-J-O-U, takes the throne. He comes to the throne. And other nations feel threatened. They feel that Louis XIV is going to have Philip as a puppet on the Spanish throne. So there was a war, and the outcome of that war was the Treaty of Utrecht. The Treaty of Utrecht, that 12-year struggle. The Treaty of Utrecht allowed Philip to rule. He could stay on the throne, but on condition of no unity of France or Spain. There had to be a guarantee that Louis would not stick his nose into Spanish politics, on the condition of no unity of France and Spain. See, these wars cost a lot of money for France. Louis's death and legacy. It was a sad end for Louis. He died of health complications. And in the end, he regretted the wars that he fought. He regretted the wars that he fought. The legacy of France is that it was a power. It became a powerful nation, but with a huge debt, D-E-B-T, debt, and anger over royal abuse of power. The legacy of France as a power, it became a power, but with a huge debt and anger over royal abuse of power. Many people were sad to see Louis die. Others are saying, thank God he can't spend any more money. Well, this is Mr. K's with 21.2C. See you down the road.